Hello and welcome to another episode of Profoundly Silly Wisdom, the channel for people who are ready to start living as their soul self and let go of following all the shoulds. Today's message actually is quite raw. It's born out of fear. Now, one thing that I want to do with this channel is not paint a picture of an unrealistic picture of what it is to live a spiritual life. I feel like there are lots of gurus out there who give the impression that if you're spiritual, you never experience fear or any sense of lack or any challenge at all, because you're so tuned into your soul that you're impervious to anything on the human level. And this just isn't true. And so I have made the decision to be vulnerable on this channel and to share my challenges as well as my successes as I make that journey myself of, living from social conditioning, the conditioning of my upbringing and the culture that I've grown up in, but also, and moving to that kind of the new life of living in tune with my true self, discovering what that is, through my connecting to my soul, and living out of that authentic nature, doing things that have genuine meaning to me, not doing them just because other people think that's what I should be doing with my life. So today's challenge, if you like, I've had a recent challenge in that it's become apparent to me that where I'm living is just not conducive to doing videos like these or working at all, because it's there's building works going on. It's just very, very disruptive, and I've realised that it's not really sustainable, and so I've got to find somewhere else to live, and I don't know where that is at this stage, so I was feeling a bit stressed about that. And obviously with that come thoughts of money, how much is it going to cost? Thoughts about, well, I need to start earning money because I've been living off savings and that they're going to run out at some point. This is the human talking. And so it's out of that sense of challenge actually that I'm making this video, because I also know a lot of people are going through these kinds of challenges right now around money, around, all kinds of things. And it's pretty intense in the human experience right now. So this morning I was tuning in. I was doing my morning practice, clearing, sort of meditating, clearing, and I tuned into the Akashic energy. I opened my records. I'm not an Akashic records reader, but I was opening to that energy. Why? Because that's kind of the energy of the soul purpose, your purpose for being here. And so I sort of asked for healing energy from the Akashic realm, and I was just sensing in my body, where these fears, where I was experiencing them in my body, just noticing that and imagining that energy coming through. But there's a kind of understanding that, I was asking for healing energy, so to speak, but it was also an understanding that what I'm asking for is just to experience the truth of my soul, because the Akashic realm is all about your soul purpose. The idea behind it is that it's the record of your soul, your soul's journey, the things that you want to learn through various lifetimes. And so it was opening to my soul nature, if you like. And that's where this sort of comes in, because really all of these fears are coming from a case of mistaken identity. We have our human identity, which is basically conditioned in, so many of these beliefs that we have. And there's so much talk in spiritual circles about limiting beliefs, and I know people are fighting against their limiting beliefs, throwing affirmations and doing vision boards, meditating clearings and all kinds of things. And if you're not careful, you can get sort of you can wear yourself out trying to wrestle down all of these individual limiting beliefs, until you run out of energy to handle, beliefs around money, beliefs around love, and, all kinds of whatever area you're experiencing challenge in. But, it all comes down to one thing, and that's basically this belief of not being good enough. We call it unworthiness. But this belief that I'm not good enough, that I need to do things in order to gain approval, gain value, that my value can somehow be diminished by what I do, or that it can be increased by what I do. And that's the fundamental lie that is conditioned into us as very young children. As babies we come in, there's no sense of unworthiness. A baby will cry, it will scream at the top of its lungs when it's hungry or upset in any way or needing something, without any expectation or worry about offending someone because I'm too loud. And so babies don't have that sense of unworthiness, but very, very quickly in our experience we get taught by the people we depend on for survival that we need to do things, we need to be good, which means doing the right things in order to be looked after. Otherwise we get, often shouted at or treated in a way that makes us feel unsafe, and therefore we learn to seek approval, and we learn that our value is based on making others happy. And dependent on how extreme that was, it's varying degrees. It will depend how much you struggle with people pleasing, for example, in adult life. But yes, it's basically coming from that. And, so what do you lack in your life? Think right now, what is your challenge? If mine is a challenge around, I've got to find somewhere to live, and, how's that going to work financially? And, what are your challenges? And why do I ask that? I'm not trying to trigger you. but the reality is, whatever you think you need in order to feel good, in order to feel safe, in order to feel good about yourself, it's, you're never going to feel like you have enough of it. Say it is money, say money is your issue, and you're like, I just need more money, I'm struggling, I need to earn more, I need to get more savings, or whatever it is. If you are coming from that place of not feeling good enough, you will never, there's no amount of money that you can earn that will make you feel good enough. Why? Because it's a fundamental lie. So basically what we're doing, what we're taught to do, is to outsource our worthiness to people and to things, and so it doesn't matter how successful you become, it doesn't matter how beautiful you are, if your sense of well-being comes from things external to you, there's no amount of that thing that is going to make you feel good about yourself. We can all see people who are addicted to plastic surgery, or other sort of treatments and things. Why are they addicted? Because they don't have a sense of innate worthiness, of innate value. They feel judged for getting older. And we can all relate to this. It's not easy. And so they just keep doing more and more and more until it just gets out of all perspective. But they're addicted to it because their sense of worth comes from external things. And until we realise that we are innately valuable, we're always going to be stuck on a treadmill. We're always going to have to perform in order to feel good. But unfortunately, however hard we try and however much success we have getting these things that we think we need, it's never going to be long lasting, because we're living based on a lie that we're not valuable as we are. So I wrote here, actually, so some of you if you've been following this channel, you'll know that I sort of grew up in a sort of Christian background, and one of the things I remember from reading the Bible was the 7 names of God, the Hebrew names of God, and one of them was El Shaddai, which actually means more than enough. And to me, that's the soul level. That's the divine nature within each of us. That's the part that we want to tune into if we want to know the truth of who we are, and we want to live from a place of sufficiency and enjoy life, live a life of enjoying sharing our gifts, rather than this sense of constantly having to work towards something and never quite making it, and the to-do list keeps growing. That's the transition that I'm making in my own life, and that the Profoundly Silly Wisdom community is designed for people who are making that transition. And if you think about it, spiritual work is really just letting go of all of the things that are not true, that we were taught to believe from a very young age. It's washing off the dust of unworthiness that we've been coated in our whole lives, and it's not easy for that reason, because it's in the collective unconscious. And if you think about history is just like, I used to actually really dislike history, because it used to be so depressing listening to all of the things that humans did to each other over the years, all of the wars and the misery that humans inflicted on each other. And where does that come from? It comes from that feeling of insufficiency, and so when you have that at your core, when you have that belief in unworthiness, that you're not good enough, you have to do things to be good enough. And that's when people start trying to manipulate and control others. They shame others to feel better about themselves. Let's go and invade and take over, and then we'll feel good about ourselves because we're strong and we're powerful. It's that instead of just knowing that you're valuable as you are. And equally, we all experience those wounds of, people doing that to us, manipulating. We all do both to varying degrees. We shame others, and we experience the shame of others projecting that onto us. And so until we really understand our soul nature as more than enough, we're just going to keep doing that, and we're going to be stuck on that treadmill forever for the rest of our human experience. And so if you want to get off that treadmill, then join the Profoundly Silly Wisdom community. I mean, we're not the only ones who are doing that work, but that's, if you resonate with this, then just join the mailing list. It's in the description box below this video, because it's hard to do it on your own, and this is why I'm emotional. It's hard to do it on your own. I am grateful for the spiritual support that I experience. This morning I tuned in, as I said, and I know that I'm being supported. Wow, this is really a vulnerable video. I can feel that energy, but equally I'm a human, and so I feel the challenge too. And it's hard to do this stuff on your own. I've done it on my own for a long time, and now we're in this wonderful stage of just starting to gather together, and to see how can we support each other in doing this work so that it feels more joyful, because we aren't alone. When we start tuning in together, there's another thing actually from my Christian background was, I remember the proverb along the lines of, one can put 1,000 to flight, and two can put 10,000 to flight. And what does that mean? It's talking about power. There's a power that comes when people gather together with an intention, and it's much more than the sum of its parts. It's a multiplication of that energy, and that's the point of community. We can, if we want to live our lives as a heroic struggle against the odds. Anyone who's been through a major life transition, dark night of the soul, spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, you'll know what that feels like. It's like, oh, I know the truth, but it's so hard. It's so hard. It's so much easier to do this together. And that's the purpose of community, because it also, we are social beings. And so we can support each other in this, and we can laugh about the challenges and, give each other hugs, even if they're virtual hugs, if we're not in the same country. And so if that appeals to you, and if you are going through that experience, then join the mailing list. The link's in the description box. So I'll just end with, so how do we switch from this false belief in unworthiness, of not good enough, of needing to prove myself as valuable, rather than just accepting that I am innately valuable because I'm an infinite soul? Well, the thing is, you have to experience it. I can do 1,000 of these videos telling you that you're valuable, that you're lovable, that you're worthy. And it's not going to make any difference to you until you actually start to experience the truth of your soul nature beyond the noise of your mind. And the thing is that our minds are really noisy because they've got all of these programs running. So they're constantly serving up the negative stream. And if you're feeding it on it, with news, social media and all of those kinds of things, you're adding to the noise. It's very hard. You can't even tune in or hear the voice of your soul, that still small voice, as it's called. And so that is the key. And that's why this morning I was tuning into the Akashic energy, because I wanted to experience my soul's purpose for being here. I don't need to know it in my head. Again, I said I didn't do an Akashic reading on myself. I was just sitting there and allowing that to flow through, to remind me of actually, okay, so I have these thoughts running in my head that are causing distress to me right now. But equally, my soul knows the answer. And it's as you start to do that kind of thing, as you continue to tune in, which you can do in your own spiritual practice through meditation, asking for help. Yeah, ask for help. Tune into your soul. Tune into your heart center. Feel the peace that's there. And that's why meditation is useful, because you quieten the mind, and then you're able to more readily. It's not even so much as hear. I mean, some people experience clairaudience, but it's more just sensing, experiencing in whatever way is right for you, that peace that is naturally your soul nature, the part of you that exists outside of all of these programmed ideas, and that is infinite. And so that is the key. You have to experience it for yourself. But it's so much more powerful also when you join with other people with the same intention. And you can do that together. Again, going back to the idea of one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. When we gather together and we tune in together, there's power in that too. So that's another purpose of this, putting together this community, so we can start to, increase what we're able to do by ourselves. So it requires both. You need to have your own practice. You need to have your own way of tuning in, however that works for you. But also, by coming together, we can reinforce that intention, and we can draw so much more energy and flow so much more energy through. And as we continue to do that, we start to experience the truth of our soul. And the key word is experience. It's not about head knowledge. You can spend your life arguing against all of your limiting beliefs, and all you'll do is just feel exhausted, because we have about 55,000 thoughts a day, apparently. So good luck trying to, corral all of those into shape. Instead, if we tune into our soul nature, the thoughts fade. And the more and more we experience our true nature, the more these things don't have hold on us anymore. And we're able to rise above the noise of those fears, and start to open to new possibilities. And that's when the synchronicities happen, and life gets really exciting. And so we move from just the challenge, challenge as struggle to challenge as adventure. How is my soul going to solve this problem? Instead of trying to solve it in my mind, I'm allowing it to unfold. I'm allowing the answer to unfold in my life rather than trying to control it from my conditioned mind. And so, yeah, I think I've said enough. So if that resonates with you, join the community so that we can do this together and have a lot more fun doing it. And also, if you've enjoyed this video, please like it, share it with anyone you know is going through a difficult time, and subscribe if you want to hear more profoundly wise thoughts. And I will see you on the other side.